Hello and welcome to Nighttime Science. I'm really glad you found your way here. Tonight isn't about rushing or chasing thoughts. It's a gentle pause. Wherever you are in the world, let this be your moment to slow down. Let the background noise soften. Let the sharp edges of the day blur just a little. Allow your thoughts to settle quietly, like leaves resting on still water. This evening, our journey stays close to home. We remain grounded on Earth. Life on this planet is far more mysterious, resilient, and quietly extraordinary than most of us ever imagine. Beneath familiar skies and ordinary seas, there are wonders unfolding all the time. Glowing oceans, jellyfish that seem to slip past time, ancient forests connected below the surface, microscopic creatures capable of surviving the harshness of space itself. Some of what you hear tonight may gently shift the way you see the world. Other moments may simply drift by, light and curious, like petals carried on a slow breeze. Both are welcome here. If this calm sense of wonder brings you comfort or sparks your curiosity, you're invited to stay, to return, and to share nighttime science with others. One restful listener at a time. But for now, there's nothing you need to do. Get comfortable, take a slow, deep breath, and let's begin this unhurried journey through the quiet miracles of life on Earth, not far from warm coastal waters, drifting through the Mediterranean and oceans around the world. There exists a creature that gently challenges one of nature's most universal rules. It's known as Turritopsis dohnae, often called the immortal jellyfish. At first glance, it seems unremarkable, small, translucent, fragile. Yet within its delicate body lies an extraordinary ability. When this jellyfish is injured, stressed, or reaches old age, it doesn't simply fade away. Instead, its cells reorganize, its body reshapes. It returns to an earlier stage of its life, not forward but backward, like a butterfly revering its transformation and becoming a caterpillar once more. The jellyfish slips back into its polyp form, the underwater equivalent of childhood, and begins again. This isn't just a theory. Scientists have observed this process many times in laboratory settings. The jellyfish can repeat this cycle over and over, potentially without end, unless it's eaten or destroyed by something external. It doesn't offer humans a secret to eternal life, but it does offer perspective, a quiet reminder that nature's imagination reaches far beyond our own. Here, drifting silently through the sea, is a creature that gently rewinds time again and again. Now imagine a forest. Tall trees stand motionless above the ground, their branches still, their trunks silent. For a long time, we believed each tree lived on its own, competing quietly for light, water, and space. But beneath the forest floor, a very different story is unfolding. Hidden below your feet is a vast underground network of fungal threads, so fine they're invisible to the naked eye. These threads weave through the soil, connecting tree roots across entire forests. Scientists call these networks mycorrhizae. Through this delicate web, trees share nutrients. They send chemical signals. They warn one another about insects, disease, or drought. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, support younger ones by passing sugars and resources through this hidden system. This isn't metaphor, it's biology. A birch tree may nourish a nearby fir. A dying tree may release its remaining energy into the network, offering it back to the forest. The system is so vast and cooperative that some researchers have begun calling it the Wood Wide Web. It isn't conscious, it doesn't think, yet it works with quiet intelligence. In this unseen world of roots and fungi, the forest is not a collection of individuals. It is a single, breathing, sharing community. And then there are creatures so small, they almost seem unreal. Tardigrades, often known as water bears. These microscopic animals are less than a millimeter long. Under a microscope, they appear wrinkled and round, with 8 tiny legs, like miniature gummy bears from another world. Despite their size, tardigrades are among the toughest life forms ever discovered. They are tiny, strange, and nearly indestructible, but don't let their appearance fool you. Tardigrades can survive conditions that would destroy almost any other form of life. Extreme cold, drifting near absolute zero, scorching heat, crushing pressure, intense radiation, even the empty vacuum of space. In 2007, scientists sent tardigrades into orbit, exposed directly to space without protection. When they returned to Earth, many of them were still alive. How is that possible? They survive by entering a remarkable state known as cryptobiosis. In this state, tardigrades dry themselves out almost completely. Their metabolism slows to a near standstill. Life doesn't end, it simply pauses. They don't die. They wait, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. And when water returns, they awaken, slowly, quietly, as if nothing had happened. Tardigrades remind us that life is tougher, stranger, and more adaptable than we ever imagined, capable of enduring even while drifting among the stars. There was a time when the air you breathe would have been deadly. Today, oxygen fills our lungs with every breath. It sustains us. It fuels our cells. It keeps us alive. But long ago, oxygen was Earth's most dangerous pollutant. More than 2 billion years ago, the planet was ruled by microscopic life that thrived in an oxygen-free world. These early organisms, known as anaerobes, were perfectly adapted to an atmosphere without oxygen. Then something changed. Tiny microbes called cyanobacteria began harnessing sunlight to make energy. And in the process, they released oxygen as a waste product. At first, the amount was small, almost unnoticeable, but over millions of years, oxygen slowly accumulated in the oceans and the air. This shift triggered what scientists now call the Great Oxidation Event. For countless anaerobic species, oxygen was toxic. It damaged their cells, disrupted ancient metabolisms, and led to a massive extinction. Yet for other life forms, this invisible gas became an opportunity, a powerful new source of energy. Over time, oxygen fueled the rise of complex, multicellular life, including us. So in a quiet, distant way, every breath you take carries a history written in deep time. Oxygen is not only life-giving, it is also the legacy of a world forever changed. We often imagine plants as passive beings, green, gentle, rooted quietly in place, reaching for sunlight. But not all plants wait patiently for nutrients. Some hunt, carnivorous plants like the Venus flytrap, pitcher plants, and sundews lure insects with sweet scents, bright colors, or sticky nectar. Once close enough, the trap is sprung. A Venus flytrap counts the footsteps of its prey, closing only after sensing multiple touches. Pitcher plants form deep, slippery chambers filled with digestive fluids, where insects slide in and cannot escape. Sundews glisten with tiny droplets that cling like dew, slowly curling inward as their prey struggles. Why do they do this? Because they grow in places where the soil is poor, where vital nutrients like nitrogen are scarce. And so they adapt, not with teeth or claws, but with patience and elegant design. These quiet predators remind us that survival takes many forms. And even the softest green leaf may hide a subtle appetite. Every leaf you've ever seen is a small masterpiece. Hold one up to the light, and a quiet miracle appears. A delicate network of veins spreads outward like rivers across a landscape. These pathways carry water, minerals, and sugars to every corner of the leaf, supporting the process that fuels life on Earth. Tiny pores dot the surface. They open and close gently, allowing carbon dioxide to enter and oxygen to drift away. Inside, chlorophyll captures sunlight and transforms it into energy, not just for the plant, but for nearly every living organism on the planet. Some leaves track the movement of the sun across the sky. Others repel water, store heat, or trap insects. Each one is shaped by its environment, each one slightly different. No two leaves are exactly the same. Different forms, different functions, all quietly working, moment by moment, to keep the world alive. And as these ideas drift through your thoughts, there's no need to hold on to them. Let them pass. Let them soften. Let them fade if they wish. Here on Nighttime Science, the wonders of Earth don't demand attention. They simply exist, waiting quietly as you rest. Each leaf is a small masterpiece, fragile, intricate, and quietly alive with purpose. And beyond the forest, the oceans hold their own kind of wonder. Some seas glow in the dark, Imagine walking along a quiet shoreline at night. The air is still. The waves roll in softly. And with each step, the water begins to shimmer, glowing in shades of blue and green, as if the ocean itself were breathing light. This phenomenon is real. It's caused by tiny living organisms known as bioluminescent plankton. When they're disturbed by motion, a breaking wave, a passing boat, the gentle sweep of a swimmer's hand, they release a brief flash of cold light. Not reflected moonlight, not electricity, but a chemical reaction taking place inside their own cells. It's the same natural glow used by fireflies drifting through summer air in places like Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico or the Maldives. This light can illuminate entire coastlines, turning the sea into a shimmering dreamscape. No magic, no machinery, just biology unfolding in the dark. Bioluminescence has evolved many times in Earth's oceans. It's used for camouflage, for communication, for defense. And here, in the quiet rhythm of the tide, the sea offers a gentle reminder that even in darkness, life finds a way to shine. You may feel like a single person, one body, one mind, but in truth, you are something far more complex. Your body is home to trillions of microscopic life forms, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea, living on your skin, in your mouth, and deep within your gut. Together, they form what's known as your microbiome, and they are not just passengers. They help digest your food, train your immune system, produce essential vitamins. They even influence your mood, your behavior, and how your body responds to stress. In many ways, your microbiome acts like an extension of your own intelligence, a vast, invisible partner in nearly everything you do. Some microbes protect you. Others compete with harmful invaders. And just like fingerprints, no two microbiomes are exactly the same. So the next time you feel alone, remember this. You are never truly by yourself. You are a walking ecosystem, a world within a world. In the forests of South America, rivers of life move across the jungle floor. Army ants march continuously, flowing forward in endless motion. When they encounter a gap, a broken branch, a stretch of open air, they don't hesitate. They don't turn back. They build. One ant anchors itself in place. Another climbs onto its body, then another, and another. Slowly, a living bridge takes shape, flexible, strong, and constantly adjusting. Thousands of ants may link together, responding in real time to the weight and movement above them. When the colony has crossed, the bridge dissolves. Each ant releases its hold and rejoins the moving river. There is no leader giving commands, no blueprint. The structure emerges from simple, local decisions, each ant responding to touch, pressure, and the presence of its neighbors. It's a quiet demonstration of collective intelligence, a shape-shifting structure made entirely of life. Many bodies moving as one, and deep beneath the ocean's surface, another mystery drifts in silence. The octopus, it glides through the water like a living dream, changing color, changing texture, watching the world with eyes that feel almost otherworldly. Already known as one of the most intelligent creatures on Earth, the octopus hides an even stranger secret within. Octopuses can edit their own RNA, the molecular instructions that turn DNA into working proteins. While most animals rely on the genetic code they were born with, octopuses can make real-time adjustments to how their genes are expressed. This allows them to fine-tune their biology on the fly, to alter how their neurons function, how they sense their surroundings, how they respond to temperature, stress, and change. They aren't rewriting their DNA itself, but they are bending the rules. We don't yet fully understand how or why they do this. And perhaps that's fitting, because the octopus already feels like a visitor from another world, a reminder that intelligence, adaptation, and mystery can take forms far beyond our own. And here on Nighttime Science, these wonders don't ask for explanation or urgency. They simply exist, quietly, patiently, as the world slows and you drift closer to rest. Some animals seem to recognize themselves. Many creatures can see their reflection, but only a few appear to understand what they're seeing. Self-recognition is rare in the natural world, and when it does appear, it's often seen as a quiet sign of awareness, a sense of self. Scientists study this using what's known as the mirror test. An animal is given a small mark on its body, placed where it can't be seen without a reflection. If the animal notices the mark in the mirror and tries to touch or investigate it on its own body, it suggests the image isn't mistaken for another animal. It's understood as me. So far, only a small number of species have passed this test. Great apes, dolphins, elephants, magpies, possibly manta rays. Even a few fish have shown intriguing signs of mirror awareness. This doesn't mean these animals think like humans, but it does suggest something remarkable. That awareness may not belong to us alone. That the spark of self can flicker in minds shaped very differently from our own. Across the tree of life, the boundary between I and other may be softer than we once believed. Life itself has faced endings and returned. Over the past 500 million years, Earth has experienced at least 5 mass extinction events. Each one reshaped the planet. Each one erased the majority of species alive at the time. The most severe of these, the Permian extinction, wiped out more than 90% of marine life and most species on land. Volcanoes, asteroids, rapid climate shifts. The world changed again and again, and each time life came back. Not the same life, but something new. Ecosystems rebuilt themselves from fragments. Small survivors became the ancestors of entirely new lineages. Wings replaced fins. Roots replaced waves. Silence gave way to motion once more. It's a quiet testament to biology's persistence. Life doesn't simply endure. It adapts, it evolves, it reinvents itself. And we are part of that story, shaped by ancient survivors who passed through darkness, catastrophe, and deep time, carrying a fragile thread forward until it reached us. In the cool, shadowed dampness of a forest, another story unfolds, one that blurs the line between control and surrender. Some fungi have learned how to guide the behavior of insects. Certain species infect ants and other small creatures, entering their bodies and slowly spreading through their tissues. As the fungus grows, it releases chemicals that alter the insect's nervous system. Movements change, decisions shift. The ant climbs higher and higher until it reaches a precise location. There, it clamps its jaws onto a leaf or branch and stops. The fungus kills its host, then grows a stalk from the body, releasing spores that fall onto the forest floor below, ready to begin the cycle again. It's a process refined over millions of years, precise, efficient, unsettling. Scientists still don't fully understand how these fungi manipulate the nervous system so effectively. But in this quiet biological struggle, even the smallest organisms wield extraordinary power. The forest is not only green and peaceful, it is layered with strategies, some elegant, some unsettling, all unfolding beyond our sight. Blue feels common. Look up at the sky. Watch the ocean. Notice the flash of a butterfly's wing. Blue seems everywhere. And yet, in nature, true blue pigment is rare. Most blue animals, blue jays, morpho butterflies, peacocks, don't actually contain blue coloring at all. Their color comes from structure, not dye. Microscopic patterns on feathers, scales, or wings bend and scatter light in just the right way to reflect blue wavelengths back to your eyes. This phenomenon is called structural coloration. It's not pigment, it's physics. An optical illusion created by shape, spacing, and light. Producing true blue pigments is chemically difficult for living organisms, and only a few have managed it. Which means every natural blue you see is something of a trick, a collaboration between biology and light itself. So the next time a flash of blue catches your eye, remember this. You're not just seeing color, you're watching light dance along the smallest architecture of life. And here on Nighttime Science, these quiet wonders don't ask to be solved or rushed. They simply exist as the world grows softer and your thoughts drift gently toward rest among the tall grasses and drifting dust of the savannah. Elephants do something few other animals are known to do. They grieve. When an elephant encounters the bones of a deceased companion or family member, it often slows its pace. It reaches out with its trunk, gently touching the remains. It lingers. Some elephants have been seen returning to the same spot years later, carefully examining the bones once again, as if remembering. There are moments, too, when elephants stand beside the dying. They remain close. They wait. They refuse to leave. Their grief may not mirror ours exactly, but it is unmistakably felt. Elephants form deep family bonds. They recognize old companions. They appear to carry emotional memory across years and distance. It's a humbling truth that empathy, loss, and connection may not belong to humans alone. Within the hearts of these great, gentle giants, something ancient and tender stirs. A quiet recognition that life is fragile and finite. Beneath the surface of warm, shallow seas, entire cities rise. Coral reefs are among the most vibrant ecosystems on Earth. And yet, they aren't built by plants or stone. They are built by animals. Each coral is a colony of tiny creatures called polyps. At night, they extend delicate, stinging tentacles into the water to catch drifting plankton. And over time, they construct their homes by secreting calcium carbonate, forming hard, stony skeletons beneath them. Layer by layer, generation by generation, these skeletons accumulate. Slowly, patiently, they grow into vast underwater structures that can stretch for hundreds of miles. Within these reefs, life flourishes. Fish, crustaceans, mollusks, sea turtles, countless forms, colors, and movements. Though coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support nearly a quarter of all marine life. They are living cities, not designed, not planned, but built through the quiet labor of millions of unseen architects. Delicate, colorful, and deeply vulnerable, a reminder of how much life can rise from the smallest hands. Somewhere between life and motion, another mystery waits. Slime molds look like something from a science fiction story. And in many ways, they behave like it too. These strange organisms are single-celled, living in soil, rotting wood, and damp corners of the natural world. They have no brain, no nervous system, no thoughts as we understand them, and yet they can solve mazes. In laboratory experiments, scientists place a slime mold inside a maze, with food positioned at 2 exits. The slime spreads outward in all directions, exploring every possible path. Slowly, it retracts, leaving behind a single, efficient route connecting the food sources. It doesn't plan, it doesn't reason, but somehow it finds the best solution. Slime molds respond to chemical signals and feedback, using a kind of distributed intelligence written directly into their bodies. Their behavior has even been used to model transportation networks, revealing surprising similarities to human-designed systems. It's a quiet, mesmerizing reminder that intelligence comes in many forms, and not all of them need a brain. The Amazon rainforest doesn't just receive rain, it creates it. Each day, as sunlight warms the dense green canopy, billions of trees release moisture into the air through a process called transpiration. Water vapor rises, cools, and condenses into clouds, which then fall again as rain, nourishing the forest below. This cycle is vast, efficient, self-sustaining. The Amazon generates much of its own rainfall, helping regulate the climate of an entire continent and influencing weather patterns far beyond its borders. Even across the Atlantic Ocean, the forest is not simply a collection of trees. It is a breathing system, and when parts of it are lost to deforestation or fire, the cycle weakens. Rain diminishes, drought spreads, often called the lungs of the earth. The Amazon is also the beating heart of South America's skies, pooling moisture, breath, and life into the air itself. In the frozen stillness of winter, some animals perform a quiet miracle. They freeze, not metaphorically, not slowly, but completely. The wood frog of North America can survive being frozen solid for days, even weeks. Its heart stops beating. Its blood turns to ice. Organs shut down. The body becomes rigid and motionless. And yet, life does not end. Special natural antifreeze compounds protect the frog's cells from damage. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, the ice melts. The heart begins to beat again. The frog wakes and hops away as if nothing had happened. This is not fiction. It is cryogenic survival shaped by evolution. Scientists study these frogs in hopes of learning how to preserve human tissues, or better, understand extreme biological resilience. For now, they remain what they have always been, quiet miracles of adaptation. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't rush toward conclusions. They linger, they breathe, they remind us that life, in all its forms, is far more patient and wondrous than we often realize. As the world grows still, let these thoughts soften and carry you gently toward rest. Tiny amphibians that slip beyond winter's grip and return, heartbeat by heartbeat, to the living world. Beneath the surface of the ocean, songs move through darkness, long, slow, haunting. The calls of whales, especially blue whales, travel vast distances underwater, sometimes spanning thousands of miles. These low-frequency sounds are among the deepest and most powerful noises produced by any animal. In the quiet depths, they can echo from coast to coast. Whales use these songs to communicate across immense spaces, to find one another, to navigate, to signal presence in an otherwise endless blue. Each population has its own dialect, shaped by geography and time. Their songs change slowly, passed down and modified like living traditions. Humpback whales, in particular, are known for long, complex melodies. Year by year, new phrases appear. Old ones fade. Different individuals contribute, and the song evolves. We don't fully understand what every sound means, but we know they are not random. These are messages shared across a watery world, exchanged by beings who have roamed Earth's oceans longer than human memory can reach. Seeds are tiny travelers through time. At first glance, they seem lifeless, dry, still. But inside each one lies a complete blueprint for life and an astonishing capacity for patience. Some seeds can remain dormant for decades, others for centuries, waiting, watching, holding energy in silence until conditions are right. In one remarkable case, a date palm seed discovered at an archaeological site over 2,000 years old was successfully germinated in modern times. It had slept through empires, seasons, and forgotten histories. And then, with warmth and water, it woke and grew. Many seeds are built to survive freezing cold, intense heat, fire, or burial beneath layers of earth. Protective shells, complex chemistry, sensitivity finely tuned to moisture, light, and temperature. They do not rush. They begin only when the moment is right. Within every seed is a quiet promise that life can wait, endure, and return. A single grain of stillness, holding the future inside. Light, it turns out, is something life has learned to make on its own. The glow of fireflies, the sparkle of plankton in breaking waves, the eerie lantern of a deep-sea anglerfish. These lights are not borrowed. They are created. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through chemical reactions, has evolved independently at least 40 times across the tree of life. From bacteria to fungi, from squid to jellyfish. Again and again, evolution has found a way to glow. Some organisms use light to attract prey, others to warn predators, some to find mates, others to disappear in plain sight. In the deep ocean, where sunlight never reaches, bioluminescence is everywhere. A drifting constellation of living stars, flickering softly in the dark. The chemistry behind it is simple and elegant. An enzyme called luciferase interacts with a molecule known as luciferin, releasing energy as visible light. Silent, efficient, beautiful, a shared language of glow, written by life in waves, caves, and the furthest reaches of darkness. Your bones are made of stardust. This isn't poetry. It's physics. The calcium that strengthens your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells, all were forged in the hearts of ancient stars. In the final moments of massive stars, lives, heavier elements, are created through nuclear fusion. When those stars explode as supernovae, their material is scattered across space. Over time, clouds of dust and gas drift, mix, and gather again. Gravity pulls them together. Planets form. Oceans rise. And on one small blue world, life begins. You don't simply live in the universe. You are the universe, arranged into a pattern that can think, breathe, and wonder. A walking collection of stardust, shaped by light and time. When you look at a flower, you see color, red, yellow, blue. But for many insects, the world looks entirely different. Bees and other insects can see ultraviolet light. a part of the spectrum invisible to human eyes. To them, an ordinary petal may blaze with glowing patterns. Rings, arrows, landing guides, all pointing toward hidden nectar. These designs are not decoration, they are function. The flower is pollinated, the insect is fed. Other insects use ultraviolet vision to navigate, find mates, or detect threats. Even the humble cabbage butterfly moves through a world filled with colors we'll never experience. So while we share the same planet, we do not share the same visual reality. Around us exists a hidden spectrum, alive with signals, patterns, and light beyond our sight. In the vast openness of the Australian outback, kangaroos hold a remarkable ability. They can pause time when conditions are harsh, or when a mother is already caring for a joey in her pouch. She can delay the development of a fertilized egg. This process, known as embryonic diapause, allows the embryo to remain on hold, alive, but waiting. A single kangaroo may be nurturing one joey outside the womb, another in the pouch, while a third remains paused, ready to continue only when the moment is right. When food becomes abundant or the pouch is free, development resumes. It's a quiet, brilliant strategy for survival in an unpredictable land. Another reminder that life does not rush blindly forward. It waits, it listens, and when the time comes, it continues. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories aren't meant to hurry your thoughts. They're meant to slow them. Let them drift, let them soften, and let the quiet rhythm of life carry you gently toward rest. This natural pause button allows kangaroos to time reproduction with remarkable precision. In a land shaped by extremes, drought, abundance, sudden change, nature has given them flexibility. A quiet mastery over time, written directly into their biology. In the colorful, ever-shifting world of coral reefs, identity itself can be fluid. Some fish carry an astonishing ability. They can change sex. Clownfish live in small social groups arranged in a strict hierarchy. The largest fish is female, and only she breeds with the dominant male. If she dies, something extraordinary happens. The male transforms, hormones shift, organs reorganize. He becomes female, the new matriarch of the group. In other species, like wrasses, the change can happen in the opposite direction. When a dominant male disappears, a female may transition into that role, becoming male instead. These changes aren't symbolic. They're physical, biological, complete. In the ocean, identity is not always fixed. It responds to need, to opportunity, to balance. And in these quiet transformations, life shows just how adaptable it can be, flexible, responsive, endlessly surprising. Every year, birds perform journeys that seem almost impossible. They cross oceans, mountain ranges, entire continents, and somehow they return to the same forests, the same cliffs, the same nesting sites, with astonishing accuracy. How do they find their way? Part of the answer lies deep within their bodies. Many birds can sense Earth's magnetic field. Some carry tiny crystals of magnetite in their beaks or heads, acting like internal compasses. Others may use specialized proteins in their eyes, allowing them to perceive magnetic fields as subtle visual patterns. This ability, known as magnetoception, works alongside the sun, the stars, and familiar landmarks. Together, they form a navigation system both ancient and elegant. We don't yet understand every detail, but we know this much: birds don't travel by memory alone. They move by feeling the invisible forces of the planet itself, guided home by a map written into their nerves. Earth, too, has its own rhythm. One of its deepest is the carbon cycle. Carbon moves endlessly through air, water, plants, animals, and stone. When you exhale, carbon dioxide leaves your body. Plants draw it in, using sunlight to build leaves, stems, and roots. Animals eat those plants. Decomposers break them down. Volcanoes release carbon from deep within the earth. Oceans absorb vast amounts of it. Some carbon becomes fossil fuels. Some becomes limestone. Some lingers in the atmosphere, circling the globe. This slow exchange regulates climate, supports ecosystems, and connects all living things. It's a cycle measured not just in years, but in ages. And right now, it's shifting, pushed out of balance by human activity. Understanding the carbon cycle reminds us that Earth is not static. It breathes, in and out, growth and decay, light and dark, a living system quietly turning through space. Long before forests or animals or breathable air, they were builders. They were bacteria. Some of them created structures that still exist today, strange, layered formations called stromatolites. Found in shallow waters, these rock-like shapes are built by cyanobacteria that trap sediment, grain by grain, layer by layer. Fossilized stromatolites date back more than 3.5 billion years. They are among the oldest known evidence of life on Earth. These microbial communities didn't just shape stone. Through photosynthesis, they released oxygen into the atmosphere, slowly, patiently, enough to transform the planet itself. Eventually, that oxygen paved the way for complex life. Today, living stromatolites can still be found in places like Shark Bay, Australia. Quiet, ancient, almost unchanged, they stand as monuments to Earth's earliest engineers, builders without tools, architects without eyes, just microscopic life, laying the foundation for everything that followed. In the blue openness of the ocean, voices carry far. Dolphins communicate using a rich language of clicks and whistles. But there's something even more remarkable hidden within those sounds. Each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle early in life, a kind of acoustic name. Other dolphins learn and remember it. They use it to call specific individuals, not just anyone nearby. When researchers played a dolphin its own signature whistle, the response was immediate, much like a human turning when their name is spoken. This isn't mimicry, it's recognition. Dolphins live in complex, shifting social groups. Being able to identify individuals helps them maintain bonds, track relationships, and navigate their social world. Beneath the waves, names are spoken, and in those calls, we glimpse the roots of language itself, echoing through water and time. Today, the Sahara stretches vast and golden, hot, dry, seemingly endless. But not long ago, it was green. Between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago, much of the Sahara was a lush landscape of grasslands, rivers, and lakes. Rain fell regularly. Wildlife thrived. Elephants, giraffes, crocodiles, and humans lived there together. Cave paintings remain, showing scenes of abundance and life. This period, known as the African humid period, was driven by subtle shifts in Earth's orbit. Those changes strengthened seasonal monsoons, bringing rain deep into what is now desert. Over time, the climate shifted again. The rains faded, the land dried, green slowly gave way to sand. The Sahara reminds us that landscapes are not permanent. They breathe too, changing with the rhythms of the planet. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't rush toward conclusions. They unfold gently. Let them drift through your thoughts. Let them soften. And as the world grows quieter, allow yourself to rest within the slow, patient wonder of life on Earth. Eventually, the rains weakened, and the green slowly faded. The desert returned, but beneath the sands, the past still rests. Ancient lake beds, fossilized trees, traces of shorelines where water once shimmered under open skies. The Sahara is not only a desert, it is a memory, a reminder that even the harshest landscapes were once soft, alive, and full of movement. And that, given time, they may be again. Bees are small. They buzz, they pollinate the world quietly, and they understand zero. In carefully designed experiments, bees were trained to associate fewer shapes with a sweet reward. When given a choice between cards showing shapes and a card showing none at all, the bees consistently chose the blank one. They recognized that nothing was less than something. This suggests an understanding of zero, an abstract concept once thought to belong only to humans and a few highly intelligent animals like chimpanzees, dolphins, and parrots. That a bee with a brain smaller than a grain of rice can grasp this idea is extraordinary. It hints that intelligence is not measured by size alone, but by efficiency, by evolution shaping minds to meet specific needs. Inside a hive, thousands of individuals move as one, yet even a single bee holds surprises, a tiny body, a vast ability, and a quiet brilliance humming behind fragile wings. In the 1990s, wolves returned to Yellowstone National Park, and the land began to change. At first, the impact seemed simple. Wolves hunted deer and elk, reducing their numbers. But the effects rippled outward. With fewer grazers lingering near riverbanks, vegetation began to recover. Willows and aspens grew taller. Birds returned. Beavers arrived and built dams. The healthier plant life stabilized soil, reduced erosion, and altered how water flowed. In some places, rivers narrowed. They curved more gently. They became more stable. This chain reaction is known as a trophic cascade, a powerful reminder that ecosystems are deeply interconnected. By simply being wolves, hunting as wolves do, they reshaped forests, waterways, and entire landscapes. Every creature plays a role, sometimes subtle, sometimes profound, and in the echo of a returning howl, the land remembers how to heal. Flowers, it turns out, are listening. We often imagine them as passive, colorful, fragrant, still. But research has shown that some flowers can respond to the sound of a bee's buzz. When a pollinator approaches, the vibration of its wings causes the petals to tremble. These vibrations trigger the plant to produce sweeter nectar within minutes, just in time for the bee's arrival. The flower has no ears, no nerves, yet its petals act as sensory organs, tuned to specific frequencies. It's a quiet exchange. The bee announces its presence. The flower responds. The garden is not silent. It hums with delicate conversations, carried on sound waves and subtle motion. Even without brains or voices, plants sense, adapt, and reply. On rocks, tree bark, and windswept cliffs, you'll find lichens, pale, crusty patches clinging to life. They look simple, but they are not one organism. A lichen is a partnership. A fungus joined with an alga or cyanobacterium. The fungus provides structure and protection. The photosynthetic partner produces food from sunlight. Together, they survive where neither could alone, in frozen tundra, dry deserts, and bare stone. Sometimes the relationship is balanced. Sometimes the fungus dominates, but the result is resilience. Lichens are ancient, stable, essential. They break down rock into soil, provide food, create shelter. Two species, one life. A quiet collaboration written across the surface of the world. Tardigrades, the water bears, are tiny, soft, and strangely endearing, and they may outlast nearly everything else. These microscopic creatures can survive freezing cold, boiling heat, intense radiation, crushing pressure, and complete dehydration. They've been found on mountaintops, at the bottom of oceans, and locked deep within ice. When conditions become unbearable, tardigrades curl into a dormant state called a tun, essentially pausing life itself. In this form, they can survive for decades, possibly centuries. Some scientists believe tardigrades could endure events that wipe out far larger life forms. asteroid impacts, global radiation, mass extinctions. They are not invincible, but they are astonishingly prepared. In the quiet corners of the world, the water bear waits, tiny, patient, ready to begin again. Deep underground, in dark, winding tunnels, lives one of the strangest mammals on Earth, the naked mole rat, wrinkled, nearly hairless, unassuming, and biologically extraordinary. Unlike most mammals, naked mole rats do not age in the usual way. Their risk of death does not steadily increase over time. They resist cancer, tolerate low oxygen, and can live for more than 30 years, an astonishing lifespan for a rodent. Their cells remain unusually stable. Their proteins resist damage. Internally, a 5-year-old naked mole rat looks much like a 25-year-old one. They live in complex underground colonies ruled by a single breeding queen, much like insects. Scientists study them closely, searching for clues about longevity, disease resistance, and resilience under extreme stress. In the darkness beneath the earth, these small, soft-bodied creatures carry secrets that may one day help us understand aging itself. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't rush toward answers. They linger. Let them drift through your thoughts. Let the wonder soften into calm. As the world grows quiet, rest in the slow, patient rhythm of life, ancient, resilient, and endlessly surprising. The human body is made of trillions of tiny lives. You are stardust and stories, and also roughly 30 trillion cells. Every breath you take, every thought that drifts through your mind, every steady heartbeat is the result of countless microscopic parts working together. Muscle cells contract, neurons spark and fade. Red blood cells carry oxygen like quiet messengers. Skin cells renew and shed. Gut cells digest. Immune cells stand watch. Each has a role. Each has a task. Together, they form a single body, one being made of many. And yet, nothing about you is fixed. Cells are constantly dying and being replaced. Piece by piece, you rebuild yourself every day. You are not static. You are a living symphony of cooperation, balance, and motion. Even now, as you rest, millions of cells are working silently to keep you whole. You are not one thing. You are a community, a quiet miracle humming beneath your skin. Parrots are bright, colorful, talkative, often playful, and astonishingly intelligent. Some species, like the African gray parrot, have shown abilities that rival those of human toddlers. They can count. They can recognize colors and shapes. They understand concepts like same and different, and even zero. One famous parrot named Alex learned to answer complex questions. He could identify objects, ask for what he wanted, and express frustration when misunderstood. In many tests, his performance matched or exceeded that of young children. In the wild, parrots use this intelligence every day. They solve problems. navigate complex social groups, use tools, adapt quickly to changing environments. Their brains are built differently from ours, but evolution found another path to awareness, another way to think. So when a parrot speaks, it isn't always just mimicry. Sometimes it may also be understanding. Bright feathers, brighter minds, and a small bird with far more going on than it lets on. We live on land. We walk beneath open skies. But most of Earth's life exists elsewhere. The ocean covers more than 70% of the planet's surface, and it holds the vast majority of all living biomass. From microscopic plankton to the largest whales that have ever lived, the sea teems with life. Glowing jellyfish, forests of kelp, coral reefs bursting with color, open water filled with drifting forms, deep trenches where sunlight has never reached. Each environment supports its own intricate community. Even a single drop of seawater can contain thousands of living organisms, and we've explored only a small fraction of the deep ocean. Much of it remains untouched, unseen, full of unknown life waiting quietly in the dark. The ocean is not empty. It is alive, a vast blue wilderness beneath the surface, pulsing with currents, movement, and song. In a quiet grove in Utah stands something that looks ordinary, a cluster of trees, pale trunks, leaves that tremble in the breeze. But beneath the ground, they are all connected. This is Pando, a clonal colony of quaking aspens. Every trunk you see is genetically identical, part of a single root system that may be more than 80,000 years old. Pando does not reproduce the way most trees do. Instead of relying on seeds, it sends up new stems from its roots, generation after generation. A forest made of one organism. What looks like many trees is one life, enduring, persistent, ancient. It has lived through ice ages, climate shifts, the rise and fall of civilizations, quietly growing, quietly waiting. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't rush to impress. They don't demand attention. They simply exist, like cells beneath your skin, like roots beneath the soil, like the slow, steady breath of a living world. Let your thoughts slow. Let the wonder soften. And as the night deepens, rest gently within the quiet intelligence of life itself. Though individual trunks die back and rise again, the organism as a whole endures. It has survived ice ages, violent storms, and the slow passing of deep time itself. A forest that is also a single being, ancient, quiet, still very much alive, rooted firmly in the earth, yet always reaching upward, toward light, toward sky, toward tomorrow. When we hear the word virus, we often think of illness, of harm, of things to fear. But not all viruses are enemies. Some play subtle, essential roles in life itself. Certain viruses prey on harmful bacteria in the human gut, helping maintain balance within our microbiome. Others influence how genes are switched on or off, helping cells respond to stress or change. Over millions of years, viruses have even woven themselves into us. Nearly 8% of the human genome comes from ancient viral DNA, passed down generation after generation. Some of these inherited viral genes are now indispensable, involved in processes like brain development, immune function, and reproduction. Viruses are not only invaders, they are contributors, participants in evolution, tiny threads stitched into the fabric of who we are, sometimes dangerous, sometimes protective, sometimes quietly essential. Sharks feel modern, sleek, fast, perfectly built for motion, and yet they are ancient beyond imagining. Sharks have existed for more than 400 million years. Trees, by comparison, appeared tens of millions of years later. Long before forests shaded the land, sharks were already patrolling Earth's oceans. They have survived 5 mass extinctions, including the one that ended the age of dinosaurs. Their basic body design has changed very little over time, a sign of extraordinary success. Today, sharks come in many forms. Gentle whale sharks drifting slowly through plankton-rich waters, hammerheads slicing through currents with wide, curious eyes, lantern sharks glowing softly in the deep. Each one carries a lineage shaped by eons. Every glide through water is a movement refined by deep time, silent, steady, enduring. Rainforests do not merely respond to weather, they help create it. Every day, trees draw water from the soil and release it into the air through their leaves. This process, called transpiration, sends vast amounts of moisture upward. The vapor cools, condenses, and forms clouds. In places like the Amazon, this cycle is so powerful that the forest helps generate its own rainfall, not just locally, but across entire regions. When the forest thrives, the system holds. When trees are lost, the cycle weakens. Fewer trees mean less moisture, fewer clouds, less rain. Eventually, a tipping point can be reached where the forest can no longer sustain itself. Rainforests are not passive scenery. They are engines of the atmosphere. When you stand beneath a living canopy, you stand inside the lungs of a continent, surrounded by breath, mist, and quiet motion. In shallow coastal waters, a small creature practices disguise with creativity. Decorator crabs don't just hide among their surroundings. They wear them, using hooked hairs on their shells. These crabs carefully attach bits of algae, seaweed, and sponges to their bodies. Some even place living sponges on their backs, which continue to grow as the crab moves through the water. The benefits are many: camouflage, protection, sometimes even chemical defense, as certain sponges release substances that predators avoid. It's not quite symbiosis, but it's close. A collaboration between moving animal and living cover. A walking reef, a creature that carries its home like a costume. constantly adjusting to remain unseen. In these quiet waters, disguise becomes art. And finally, a perspective shift. Insects outnumber humans by billions to one. They fill the air, the soil, the forests, the hidden spaces beneath leaves and stones. They pollinate plants, recycle nutrients, shape ecosystems from the smallest scale upward. Though tiny, they form the foundation of much of life on Earth. And here on Nighttime Science, these facts are not meant to overwhelm. They're meant to remind. Life is layered, interconnected, patient. From ancient forests to microscopic allies, from silent predators to glowing seas. Let these thoughts settle gently. Let the night hold them for you. As the world grows quiet, rest within the slow, enduring wonder of a living planet, still breathing, still becoming, still alive. The world, in many ways, belongs to insects. For every human alive today, there are an estimated hundreds of millions of insects. They inhabit nearly every ecosystem on Earth, from rainforest canopies to frozen tundra, from scorching deserts to the edges of the sea. Beetles alone make up almost a quarter of all known animal species. Insects pollinate crops. They recycle nutrients. They break down waste and feed countless other creatures. They've existed for more than 400 million years and have survived every mass extinction the planet has known. Some live only minutes. Others endure for years. They build cities, wage wars, farm fungi, form societies of astonishing complexity. Though small, they are powerful, shaping the world quietly, persistently, often unseen. We may imagine ourselves rulers of the land, but insects were here long before us, and they will likely remain long after we're gone. Deep within the rainforests of New Guinea and nearby islands, beauty takes flight. Birds of paradise wear feathers that shimmer in metallic blues, fiery oranges, and deep velvet blacks. Some grow long streamers. Others unfurl dramatic fans or balance on slender tail wires. But their beauty doesn't end with appearance. They dance. Each species performs its own elaborate choreography. Hops, spins, bows, sudden freezes. Rhythmic movements paired with clicks, whistles, and fluttering wings. Females watch carefully, choosing mates based on precision, endurance, and flair. This intense selection has driven the evolution of some of the most extravagant traits in the animal kingdom. Behind every performance lies patience, practice, and instinct refined over generations. In these courtship rituals, we glimpse evolution's love of drama and nature's boundless creativity. In quiet corners, attics, trees, garden gates, spiders spin something remarkable. Their silk, drawn from their bodies in fine, glistening strands, is among the strongest materials found in nature. Weight for weight, it surpasses steel. Yet it is flexible, able to stretch and absorb enormous energy without breaking. Spider silk is built from proteins arranged in precise microscopic patterns. Different species produce different kinds of silk: sticky, smooth, elastic, tough, each designed for a specific purpose. Webs, egg sacs, safety lines, traps. Some spiders can spin silk underwater. Others release threads into the wind and glide across open space. Scientists study spider silk for medical sutures, lightweight armor, and advanced materials. But the spider needs no laboratory. It spins quietly, patiently, crafting miracles from within, one delicate thread at a time. On warm summer nights, the darkness begins to speak in light. Fireflies, also known as lightning bugs, communicate using bioluminescent flashes. Each species has its own pattern, its own rhythm, its own timing. Males drift through the air, blinking specific signals. Females respond from grass or branches with carefully timed replies. It's a dialogue written in light, a conversation shaped by pulses and pauses. Inside their abdomens, fireflies mix chemicals like luciferin and oxygen to create this cold glow. No heat, no flame, just soft illumination in the dark. Their light serves more than romance. It also warns predators. Many fireflies taste bitter or are mildly toxic, and their glow announces it clearly. Beauty and warning intertwined, a living language of flashes dancing through the night. In the forests of Africa and South America, some monkeys practice a quiet kind of medicine. Chimpanzees and other primates have been observed seeking out specific plants when they are sick or injured. Bitter stems, rough leaves, substances with no nutritional value, but powerful effects. They chew certain piths, swallow leaves whole, rub plant material onto wounds or fur. Many of these plants contain antibacterial, antifungal, or antiparasitic compounds. This behavior isn't random. It's deliberate, a form of self-care learned through observation, experience, and instinct, passed down across generations. Nature teaching itself how to heal. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't rush past. They linger. Small creatures, quiet choices, ancient wisdom written into behavior and biology. Let these thoughts drift gently. Let the world feel wide and calm. As night settles in, rest within the quiet intelligence of life, observing, adapting, and endlessly finding a way forward. One clear example comes from chimpanzees living in the wild. When chimps suffer from intestinal parasites, they often seek out specific bitter leaves. They don't eat these plants as part of their normal diet. They consume them only when symptoms appear. The leaves help purge the worms from their system. This behavior has a name: zoopharmacognosy, animal self-medication. It challenges the idea that healing knowledge belongs only to humans. Whether this understanding is instinctive, learned through observation, or passed down across generations, It reveals a quiet intelligence at work. Among branches and shadows, the forest becomes a living pharmacy, and some animals already know exactly how to use it. Every breath you take carries a hidden story. Not all of your oxygen comes from trees. Much of it comes from the sea. Near the ocean's surface drift countless microscopic organisms known as phytoplankton. Like plants, they perform photosynthesis. They absorb sunlight. They take in carbon dioxide. And they release oxygen into the air. Despite their tiny size, phytoplankton produce more than half of the oxygen we breathe. They form the invisible foundation of marine food webs, feeding everything from tiny krill to the largest whales on Earth. But their influence doesn't stop there. They also help regulate the atmosphere and climate itself. Phytoplankton respond delicately to temperature, ocean currents, and nutrient flow. Small changes in the sea can ripple outward, affecting their abundance and the balance of life above the waves. You may never see them from shore, but they are everywhere, a vast, shimmering presence beneath the surface. And with every inhale and exhale, the ocean is breathing with you. In quiet corners of forests and cities, another intelligence watches and waits. Crows, they go about their days with purpose, with memory, with foresight that feels almost unsettling. Studies have shown that crows can plan for the future, setting aside tools or food for situations they will face later, not just reacting to what's happening now. They recognize individual human faces. They remember kindness. They remember threats. They pass this information to other crows, teaching their community who to trust and who to avoid. Some crows have been observed solving multi-step problems, using tools in sequence, and adapting their strategies when circumstances change. This isn't simple instinct. It's flexible thinking. In their dark feathers and sharp eyes, we glimpse a mind that looks ahead, a reminder that intelligence wears many forms. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories are not meant to hurry your thoughts. They are meant to soften them. Let the ideas drift. Let the wonder quiet your mind. As the world grows still, rest within the slow, shared intelligence of life, thinking, adapting, and breathing together through the night. These birds, members of the corvid family, continue to surprise us. They don't simply react to the present moment. They prepare for what comes next. Crows have been observed saving tools for future use, hiding food in places they'll remember later, and even trading objects for rewards. In controlled experiments, they've chosen a less appealing snack now, if it meant receiving something better later on. They use sticks to reach food, bend wires into hooks, adjust their approach when a solution fails. They understand cause and effect in ways that feel strikingly familiar. Some crows can remember the faces of humans who have harmed them and hold those memories for years. They warn other crows. They avoid. They remember, despite having brains far smaller than those of great apes. Their intelligence rivals them in many tasks. And unlike many animals, crows seem capable of thinking ahead, not just acting on impulse. They are planners, problem solvers, quiet minds wrapped in feathers, watching, learning, remembering. For some snakes, vision doesn't stop with light. They can see heat. Pit vipers, pythons, and boas possess specialized organs called pit receptors, small openings on their faces that detect infrared radiation. These sensors allow them to perceive the body heat of warm-blooded prey, even in complete darkness. What they see isn't an image like ours. It's closer to a thermal map, warm shapes glowing against a cooler background. This ability gives snakes a powerful advantage during night hunts, allowing them to strike with astonishing precision. It isn't magic, it's physics, finely tuned into biology. Some scientists describe it as a kind of sixth sense, a world revealed through warmth rather than light, a reminder that every species experiences reality differently, shaped by evolution, guided by need, and adapted for survival. For most of the year, the Arctic tundra lies silent, frozen, wind-scoured, still. But when summer arrives, brief, bright, and urgent, everything changes. In just days, the frozen soil softens. The sun lingers in the sky nearly around the clock, and the land erupts. Flowers bloom, mosses spread, grasses rise. Color bursts across a landscape that seemed lifeless only weeks before. It isn't gradual, it's explosive. Pollinators arrive, birds return to nest, mammals forage and raise their young. All of it must happen quickly, sometimes within a window of only 6 to 8 weeks before winter returns. The tundra knows how to seize the moment. In this ancient rhythm of long stillness and sudden abundance, life keeps time with the sun. Deep in tropical forests, a quieter and stranger story unfolds. A parasitic fungus called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis infects ants and slowly takes control of their behavior. Once inside the ant's body, the fungus spreads through its tissues and releases chemicals that alter how the ant moves and responds. The ant, still alive, leaves its colony. It climbs up a plant stem, onto a leaf or twig. There it bites down and stops. The fungus kills its host. Then a stalk grows from the ant's body, releasing spores into the air below, ready to infect others. This is not science fiction. It is evolution refined over millions of years. Unsettling, precise, efficient, the forest holds beauty and also darker elegance. Sometimes the smallest organisms wield the most chilling power, and in the depths of the ocean, another marvel waits. Sea cucumbers, slow, soft-bodied creatures, possess an ability that seems almost impossible. When threatened, they can liquefy their own tissues. Their bodies shift from solid to fluid, allowing them to squeeze through narrow spaces or escape predators. Later, they slowly reform, returning to their original shape, a reminder that survival doesn't always mean strength or speed. Sometimes it means becoming something else entirely. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories are not meant to startle. They are meant to unfold. Let them drift past your thoughts. Let the wonder soften into calm. As the night deepens, rest within the many forms of life. Clever, strange, resilient, quietly sharing the same world. At first glance, a sea cucumber doesn't seem remarkable at all. A soft, sausage-shaped body resting quietly on the ocean floor. Easy to overlook, and yet it carries one of the strangest abilities in the animal kingdom. When threatened, or when slipping through narrow spaces, a sea cucumber can change the very nature of its body. By rearranging proteins within its connective tissue, it can shift from firm and solid to almost liquid in a matter of seconds. One moment structured, the next moment flowing, easing itself into cracks and crevices where predators cannot follow. Then, just as quickly, it firms up again. Some species take this even further. When under attack, they can expel parts of their internal organs as a distraction, a last resort defense. And later, slowly and patiently, they regenerate what was lost. No bones, no muscles driving the change, no conscious decision, just biology responding. A survival strategy unlike any other. Soft, silent, almost magical. In the slow rhythm of the sea cucumber glides, dissolving and reforming, like water learning the shape of life. In the frozen waters of Antarctica, life faces a different challenge. Cold so intense that blood should turn to ice. But ice fish drift there calmly, unharmed. Their secret lies in antifreeze proteins circulating through their blood. These molecules bind to tiny ice crystals before they can grow, stopping freezing at its earliest stage. A biochemical shield against the cold. Ice fish carry other unusual traits as well. They lack red blood cells and hemoglobin, giving their blood a pale, almost translucent appearance. Oxygen dissolves directly into their blood plasma and moves through their bodies without the usual carriers. They move slowly, deliberately, conserving energy in the cold, living where most vertebrates could not survive at all. Their strange biology offers a glimpse into evolution's creativity, how life reshapes itself to endure extremes. Beneath the Antarctic ice, the ice fish drifts, cold-watered, soft-blooded, utterly unique. From the outside, a termite mound looks simple, just earth piled into a tower. But inside, it is a city. Some mounds rise more than 30 feet tall and house millions of termites within an intricate network of chambers and tunnels. And the most remarkable feature isn't size, it's climate control. Termites build their homes to regulate temperature and airflow using natural convection. Warm air rises and escapes through upper vents. Cooler air is drawn in from below. The The system adjusts continuously, keeping the interior stable even when outside temperatures swing wildly. No blueprints, no architects, no tools, only instinct, repetition, and cooperation. A natural form of air conditioning, silent, efficient, and perfectly tuned to the environment. Beneath our feet, insects have engineered structures that rival our own. Quiet, elegant, remarkably effective. Some defenses are subtle, others are unforgettable. The horned lizard, found in parts of North America, carries one of the most dramatic survival tactics known. When threatened, especially by canine predators, it can shoot blood from its eyes. By increasing pressure in tiny blood vessels near the eyes, the lizard causes them to rupture. A thin stream of blood sprays outward, mixed with chemicals that taste bitter and unpleasant to predators. The sudden display often startles attackers long enough for the lizard to escape. The damage heals quickly. The blood is replaced. The lizard survives. It may sound like legend, but it's real. In a world full of danger, evolution has explored every possibility. Sometimes, even a drop of blood becomes a shield. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories aren't meant to shock or rush the mind. They're meant to reveal how endlessly inventive life can be. Let the images soften. Let the thoughts slow. As the night deepens, rest within the quiet creativity of the living world, adapting, reshaping, and finding a way to continue. Small, armored, and full of surprises, the horned lizard is a gentle reminder that nature never runs out of ideas. Long before forests rose from the land, before fish swam through shallow seas, before bones, eyes, or sunlight shaped life as we know it, life began in darkness. Deep within Earth's ancient oceans, hydrothermal vents released mineral-rich water into the surrounding sea. The conditions were extreme, scalding heat, crushing pressure, and total absence of light. And yet, somehow, life took hold. The earliest organisms were simple, single-celled, without nuclei. They did not rely on sunlight, but on chemistry. They fed on energy released from the earth itself through a process known as chemosynthesis. This may have been the first metabolism on our planet. Even today, these deep-sea environments remain alive. Tube worms, clams, heat-loving microbes thriving in darkness, drawing energy from stone and water rather than the sun. Some scientists believe similar conditions may exist on distant ocean worlds, moons like Europa or Enceladus, hiding liquid water beneath icy shells. If life emerges there, it may begin the same way, far from starlight, born in the warm breath of rock. The deepest parts of the ocean may also be life's oldest cradle. Beneath gentle tides, a starfish moves slowly across the seafloor, silent, calm, unhurried. If one of its arms is taken by a predator, the starfish does not flee or panic. It regenerates, patiently, completely. Starfish are masters of renewal. Some species can regrow a lost arm. Others can rebuild an entire body from a single severed limb, as long as part of the central disc remains. They have no brain, only a ring of nerves and a network of tiny tubes that control movement and sensation. And yet, their bodies know how to begin again. This remarkable ability comes from specialized stem cells and decentralized control. Growth is slow, careful, deliberate, rewriting the body piece by piece. Scientists study starfish to better understand healing and regeneration, even in humans. In the stillness of the reef, the starfish offers a quiet lesson. Damage is not always the end. Life can renew itself, one fragment at a time. Among Earth's strangest creatures, the platypus stands alone. It wears contradictions easily. The bill of a duck, the tail of a beaver, webbed feet like an otter. It lays eggs like a reptile, yet feeds its young with milk like a mammal. The platypus is one of only 5 monotremes, mammals, that lay eggs instead of giving live birth. And there's more. Platypuses don't have nipples. Milk seeps through pores in the mother's skin, and the bobbies lap it from her fur. Males carry venomous spurs on their hind legs. Underwater, they hunt with eyes closed, using electroreception in their bills to detect the faint electrical signals of prey. Everything about the platypus feels improbable, and yet it exists, a living relic from an ancient branch of evolution, still gliding through Australian streams. Soft, elusive, wonderfully odd. When night falls and the world grows quiet, bats take to the sky. They do not rely on sight. They listen through echolocation. Bats emit high-frequency sounds that bounce off objects in their surroundings. By interpreting the returning echoes, they build an acoustic map of the world, revealing distance, shape, movement, and texture. Some bats can catch a mosquito midair using sound alone. Their calls are so precise they can weave through dense forests, between branches, even through gaps no wider than their wingspan. Not all bats use echolocation, but those that do are among nature's most efficient flyers and hunters, navigating darkness with sound as their guide, a reminder that vision is not the only way to see, that reality can be felt, measured, and understood through many senses. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't ask to be analyzed or rushed. They drift. Let them settle gently in your mind. Let the images soften. As the night deepens, rest within the quiet ingenuity of life, finding paths through darkness, adapting, listening, and continuing on. They don't experience darkness the way we do. They hear space. In that invisible world of echoes and returning sound, the night takes shape. Distance becomes rhythm. Movement becomes meaning. The air itself turns into a map, alive with form and motion. In the damp, sunlit swamps of the Carolinas, a quiet predator waits. The Venus flytrap barely moves. It doesn't chase. It doesn't reach. It waits. Its leaves form open jaws, lined with delicate trigger hairs. When an insect brushes against a single hair, nothing happens. The trap remains still. But touch 2 hairs, or the same hair twice, within about 20 seconds, and everything changes. Snap. The trap closes in a fraction of a second. This delay is no accident. It's a filter. Raindrops, falling debris, random movement. None of these should trigger a response. Only the repeated motion of a living insect is counted as real. Once closed, the trap seals tightly. Digestive enzymes break the prey down slowly over several days. Then, when the work is done, the trap opens again, patient, reset, ready. It isn't thinking, but it is sensing, timing, responding. A plant that measures movement and acts with precision. Silent, calculated, alive. On the rocky shores of Antarctica, love arrives quietly. When breeding season begins, many penguin species, especially Adelie and Gentoo penguins, take part in a simple, careful ritual. A male searches for a smooth, well-shaped pebble, not just any stone, a good one. He approaches the female and offers it with a small bow or gesture. If she accepts, she places the pebble into her nest. And just like that, they begin building a home together, stone by stone. These pebble nests keep eggs raised above the cold ground and away from melting snow. Good stones are valuable. Penguins sometimes steal from neighboring nests when no one is watching. But often, the offering is sincere. A gift, a signal, a beginning. In the frozen quiet of the South, love doesn't arrive in song or scent. It arrives with the soft click of stone against stone, high above the ocean, where there is nowhere to land. Some birds rest in a way that seems impossible. They sleep while flying. Species like the frigate bird and the alpine swift can remain airborne for days, sometimes weeks, gliding over vast distances without touching the ground. To survive this, they use a remarkable strategy called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. Only half of the brain sleeps at a time. The other half remains alert, guiding flight, monitoring surroundings, avoiding danger. Even their eyes take turns. It isn't deep sleep, but it's enough. As they soar on warm air currents, these birds drift gently in and out of awareness, cradled by wind and motion. Rest and movement coexist. Vigilance and surrender share the same sky, and somewhere above the waves, some dreams are carried on wings. Beneath your thoughts, beneath your memories, beneath your dreams, your brain glows with quiet fire. Every idea begins as an electrical signal, a tiny spark passing from one neuron to the next. Your brain contains around 86 billion of these cells, each forming thousands of connections. Together, they create an immense web of communication. Signals travel down long axons. They leap across synapses, They ripple outward, forming patterns that become feelings, words, decisions. This isn't electricity like a wire. It's biological. Ions flowing through channels, chemical gradients creating motion, a living current. Even in deep sleep, the brain does not fall silent. Slow waves of electrical activity continue to pulse beneath your skull, steady, rhythmic, alive. A storm of light and thought, always shifting, always becoming. And here on Nighttime Science, these ideas aren't meant to spark urgency. They're meant to soften into wonder. Let the rhythms slow. Let the quiet settle. As the night deepens, rest within the gentle hum of life, thinking, sensing, and dreaming quietly in the dark. You are not powered by wires or gears. You are powered by sparks, tiny flickers of electricity that rise, moment by moment, into awareness. In the shifting light of shallow seas, cuttlefish perform quiet magic. These soft-bodied cephalopods are masters of disappearance. In an instant, they can change the color, pattern, and texture of their skin, blending seamlessly with sand, stone, or coral. What looks like vanishing is actually transformation. They achieve this through specialized skin cells, chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores, that expand and contract to reflect light in different ways. Together, they create rippling patterns and shimmering hues that change faster than a blink. And here's the wonder. Cuttlefish are colorblind. They don't perceive color as we do. Instead, they seem to rely on brightness, contrast, and even polarized light to match their surroundings with astonishing accuracy. They don't just change color. They change texture too, raising bumps, flattening surfaces, becoming rock or sand or coral. Camouflage is only part of the story. These shifting patterns are used to communicate, to hunt, and sometimes simply to explore. One creature, endless disguises, a living canvas, repainting itself with every breath. On certain nights of the year, something extraordinary happens beneath the waves. Under the glow of a full moon, coral reefs awaken, not with light, but with life. Across vast stretches of ocean, corals release eggs and sperm at the same time, in a breathtakingly synchronized spawning event. It often happens only once a year, timed precisely to the lunar cycle. The moon's gravity, light, and rhythm act as a signal. Acting together increases the chances that eggs and sperm will meet in the immense sea. For a brief window, the water fills with drifting life, a gentle snowstorm of beginnings. Though corals are rooted in place, they are not disconnected from the sky. They respond to celestial rhythms, dancing to the pull of the moon. In the quiet reef, the moon calls, and life answers. Frogs swallow in a way that feels almost impossible. They don't chew, they blink. When a frog catches prey with its sticky tongue, pulling it into its mouth, swallowing doesn't rely on throat muscles alone. Instead, the frog draws its eyes downward, sinking them slightly into its skull. This motion presses against the roof of the mouth, helping push the food toward the throat. A slow blink, a gentle squeeze, and the meal slides down. It's a perfect example of evolution's creativity, using what's already there, repurposing structure into function. In frogs, even sight becomes part of digestion, a blink that does more than see. Plants, too, have their own quiet language. When a plant is attacked by a caterpillar, for instance, it doesn't suffer in silence. It releases chemical signals into the air, warning nearby plants that danger is close. These neighbors respond by strengthening their defenses. They may produce bitter compounds, release toxins, thicken their leaves, prepare for what's coming. The messages can be remarkably specific. A tomato plant sends different chemical warnings depending on whether it's being eaten by an insect or infected by a fungus. Some scientists believe this airborne communication evolved to help related plants, offspring, or close kin survive together. So when you walk through a forest or garden, remember this. It isn't quiet. The air hums with information. Leaves whisper warnings, and life listens. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories aren't meant to startle or impress. They're meant to remind you the world is alive in ways we're only beginning to understand. Let the thoughts drift. Let the wonder soften. As the night deepens, rest within the invisible conversations of a living planet, signaling, adapting, and quietly continuing on. Leaf to leaf, root to root. Some trees don't measure life in decades, but in millennia. In quiet groves high in the mountains of Utah, or across the cold landscapes of Scandinavia, a tree grows in an unusual way. Species like quaking aspens don't always rely on seeds. Instead, a single tree sends roots outward beneath the soil. From those roots, new trunks rise to the surface. Each trunk looks separate, independent, but genetically they are one. One such clonal colony, known as Pando, is estimated to be more than 80,000 years old. It began growing when woolly mammoths still roamed the earth. Individual trunks die and fall, but the root system persists, sending up new life again and again. It is a forest that is also a single being, ancient, patient, spread across generations. In this quiet persistence, time itself takes root and life endures. Beneath your feet, in dark and damp soil, another quiet workforce never rests. Earthworms. They are blind, silent, slow, easy to overlook, and essential. As earthworms tunnel through the ground, they aerate the soil, creating pathways for roots to grow and for water and air to circulate. They consume decaying organic matter and return it to the earth as nutrient-rich castings, natural fertilizer that builds healthy soil. Their movement mixes soil layers, redistributing minerals and organic material. Over time, they shape landscapes from below. Charles Darwin once wrote that it might be doubted, whether any other animals have played so important a role in the history of the world. Quiet, tireless, unseen, earthworms are engineers of life itself. In every garden, meadow, and forest, they sculpt the ground that supports us all. Towering above the savanna, giraffes seem almost too tall to rest, and in a way they are. Giraffes sleep remarkably little, sometimes as little as 30 minutes, rarely more than 2 hours a day. Their rest comes in short bursts, often while standing. Occasionally, they lie down briefly, curling their long necks back in a gentle arc for moments of deeper sleep. Why so little rest? Height brings vulnerability. Being tall and slow makes them easier targets for predators. So giraffes evolved to remain alert, even while resting. In groups, one individual often keeps watch, while others drift into shallow sleep. Despite this, giraffes remain active, curious, and socially complex. How they thrive on so little rest remains something of a mystery. But their biology is finely tuned for open landscapes and constant awareness. Under the stars, while lions and hyenas roam, the giraffe dreams, but only for a moment. Plastic was once thought to last forever, but nature is already finding ways to respond. In recent years, scientists have discovered microbes capable of breaking down certain types of plastic. Some bacteria and fungi produce enzymes that can digest polyethylene terephthalate, PET, a common material used in bottles and packaging. The process isn't fast, but it is real. These microbes break synthetic polymers into simpler compounds they can absorb and use. They've been found in landfills, soils, and even inside the digestive systems of insects. It's a small beginning, but it offers hope, a glimpse of how biology might help us address the lasting traces of human activity. Life adapts, even to what we thought was permanent. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't ask for urgency. They ask for reflection, roots spreading quietly underground, worms shaping soil grain by grain, giants resting lightly beneath the stars, microbes learning to eat what we leave behind. Let these thoughts settle softly. Let the night hold them as the world slows. Rest within the patient, persistent intelligence of life, always working, always finding a way. Engineers are now studying these microbes closely, searching for ways to enhance or replicate their enzymes for large-scale recycling. It's not a cure for all our waste problems, but it is a beginning. Even in the mess we've created, life adapts. It finds new niches, new food sources, new paths forward. Biology, quietly and patiently, keeps responding. In the far northern reaches of the world, an Arctic fox moves across snow and stone like a whisper. Its fur changes with the seasons. In winter, the coat turns pure white, dissolving into ice and snow. In summer, it shifts to brown or gray, blending with tundra grasses and rocky ground. This transformation helps the fox hide from predators and approach prey, birds, eggs, lemmings, unseen. Its fur is also astonishingly thick, insulating it against temperatures that can fall below -50 degrees Celsius. Even the soles of its feet are covered in fur, protecting them from frozen ground. Season by season, the Arctic fox becomes the landscape it inhabits, a living shapeshifter, tuned perfectly to the turning of the world. Far below the sunlit surface of the ocean lies a realm that feels almost unreal. The deep sea, cold, dark, pressurized beyond imagination. Here live creatures that seem borrowed from another planet. Fish with glowing lures, transparent predators, drifting jellies that pulse with light, spindly crabs that move like machines. Some draw energy from chemicals released by hydrothermal vents. Others drift slowly through eternal twilight, glowing softly in the dark. There is no sunlight here, and so life adapted. Enormous mouths, unusual body shapes, near invisibility, bioluminescence used for hunting, communication, or camouflage. Against crushing pressure and freezing temperatures, these beings thrive. We've explored only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean, but what we've seen is extraordinary. An alien world beneath our own, vast, silent, and alive, waiting patiently in the dark. We often think of tool use as something uniquely human, or at least primate, but some birds would disagree. Crows and ravens have been seen shaping sticks and leaves to pull insects from narrow crevices. New Caledonian crows carefully craft hooks, choosing specific materials and refining them for the task at hand. Other birds show similar ingenuity. Green herons drop small objects onto the water's surface to lure curious fish closer. Woodpecker finches in the Galapagos use twigs like tweezers. Egyptian vultures lift stones and drop them onto ostrich eggs to crack them open. These birds don't just stumble upon tools. They select them, modify them, use them with intention. In some cases, young birds learn by watching elders, passing knowledge across generations. It's problem solving, it's invention, and it reminds us that intelligence isn't bound to hands. It can soar on wings. Across the sun-scorched deserts of Africa and the Middle East, camels move steadily through heat and sand. Unhurried, unshaken, rarely thirsty, camels can survive for weeks without water. When they finally drink, they can consume enormous amounts, sometimes more than 30 gallons in just minutes. Despite the myth, camels don't store water in their humps. They store fat. This fat provides energy, and when metabolized, it releases water as a byproduct. Their red blood cells are uniquely shaped, allowing them to withstand extreme dehydration and sudden rehydration without damage. Their bodies minimize water loss. Their nostrils reclaim moisture from exhaled air. Their kidneys concentrate waste efficiently. Every system is tuned for survival in a land where water is never guaranteed. In the desert's vast silence, the camel endures, a moving archive of evolutionary wisdom, carrying resilience across the sand. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories aren't meant to rush your thoughts. They're meant to slow them. Life adapts. Life waits. Life continues. Let the images drift gently. Let the night grow quiet. As the world rests, rest with it, held by the calm, patient intelligence of a living planet. Camels conserve moisture in ways that feel almost impossible. Their kidneys are extraordinarily efficient. Their waist is dry. Their body temperature rises and falls throughout the day, reducing the need to sweat under the desert sun. Even their blood cells are uniquely shaped, allowing them to flow smoothly during extreme dehydration and sudden rehydration. Every detail matters. Long lashes shield their eyes from blowing sand. Thick, leathery lips allow them to eat thorny plants without injury. Wide, padded feet spread their weight across shifting dunes. Camels are not merely surviving the desert. They are specialists in scarcity. Bodies shaped by heat, thirst, and patience. Long before a chick breaks free from its shell, it begins to speak. From inside the egg comes soft, rhythmic chirps. These sounds are not random. They are part of an early conversation. Mother hens hear them and respond, adjusting their posture, turning the eggs, or softly clucking back. Even unhatched siblings can hear one another. They chirp together, helping to synchronize, hatching so no chick emerges alone. This gentle exchange prepares the chick for the world outside. It helps regulate breathing rhythms. It builds familiarity. It strengthens bonds before the first breath of open air. The egg is not silent. It is alive with quiet voices, a heartbeat, a breath, a call, all before the shell cracks. Winter is unforgiving to small bodies, and yet some insects endure it in astonishing ways. Certain species, like the Arctic woolly bear moth or the goldenrod gallfly, can survive being completely frozen. Their bodies produce cryoprotectants, special molecules such as glycerol that prevent damaging ice crystals from forming inside their cells. In this state, metabolism slows almost to nothing. No movement, no growth, no feeding. Life pauses. This isn't ordinary dormancy. It's suspended animation. When spring returns and temperatures rise, the insects thaw and continue as if nothing happened. Time resumes where it left off. In the stillness of frost, life waits, quietly ticking forward, one molecule at a time. Polar bears appear white against snow and ice, but beneath their fur, their skin is black. This dark surface absorbs and retains heat from the sun, a crucial advantage in the Arctic's relentless cold. Their fur, though it looks white, is actually translucent. Each hair scatters light, creating camouflage while allowing warmth to reach the skin below. It's a layered design, beauty and function woven together. polar bears are powerful swimmers and precise hunters, relying on sea ice to reach seals. Their wide paws provide stability on snow and ice, textured with small bumps for grip. Underneath it all, their skin gathers every possible trace of warmth, not just striking, but exquisitely engineered for life at the edge of cold. Jellyfish drift like ghosts through the sea, soft, silent, ethereal. But beneath that simplicity lies something extraordinary. Some jellyfish can clone themselves. In their early life stage, a jellyfish exists as a polyp, a small, anchored form. If this polyp is injured or broken apart, it can regenerate into multiple individuals, one body becoming many. Even adult jellyfish can sometimes bud off new jellyfish from fragments of themselves. This isn't reproduction in the usual sense. It's replication, a built-in reset, a quiet redundancy woven into their biology. They float gently through the water, fragile and ancient, carrying a reminder that life doesn't always move forward in straight lines. Sometimes it divides. Sometimes it begins again. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't ask you to stay awake. They ask you to soften. Let the desert cool. Let the ice still. Let the sea drift. As the night deepens, rest within the many ways life endures. Patient, inventive, and endlessly alive. In the case of the so-called immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis doheny, this ability goes even further. When injured, stressed, or simply old, it can reverse its own life cycle, returning to a youthful state and beginning again. In the shifting tides, jellyfish drift between damage and renewal, slipping backward through time in a way few living things can. Soft, ancient, infinitely patient. In their quiet rhythm, life persists. Through multiplication, reinvention, and the gentle pulse of the sea, you shine more than you know. The human body gives off a very faint light, not like fireflies or glowing ocean creatures, but something far subtler. A quiet bioluminescence invisible to the naked eye. This glow comes from tiny chemical reactions inside your cells. When free radicals interact with lipids and proteins, small bursts of energy are released as photons, tiny packets of light. Using ultrasensitive cameras, scientists have captured this glow, revealing that it shifts throughout the day, often peaking in the late afternoon. Our faces tend to glow the most, likely because of higher metabolic activity. The light is incredibly dim, about 1,000 times weaker than what human eyes can perceive. But it's there, constant, soft, real. Even in sleep, your body is not fully still. It hums, it breathes, and quietly it glows. The boundary between sea and land is blurrier than it seems. Some fish have learned to cross it. Mudskippers use their strong pectoral fins to walk across muddy flats and even climb tree roots. They breathe through their skin and the lining of their mouths, keeping themselves moist so oxygen can pass directly into their bodies. Climbing perch, native to parts of Southeast Asia, can survive out of water for hours, sometimes days, crawling across land in search of new pools. Some eels have been known to slither over wet grass at night, moving from stream to stream. These aren't odd tricks. They are evolutionary echoes, hints of the ancient transition that once carried life from water to land. On the edge of shore and sea, life stretches its limits. One fin, one breath, one careful step at a time. When floodwaters rise, fire ants don't scatter. They assemble. Thousands of ants link together using legs and mandibles, forming living rafts that float atop the water. Queens, larvae, and workers are carried together in a tightly woven structure that is both flexible and buoyant. Air trapped between their bodies helps them float. If waves disturb the raft, it reshapes itself, redistributing weight and reconnecting broken links. No leader gives orders. No blueprint exists. Each ant follows simple rules, and from those local decisions, collective survival emerges. These rafts can last for weeks, drifting calmly through chaos. In the rush of floodwaters, many bodies become one, a living structure, a floating organism. Dip your fingers into the ocean. You are touching an unseen universe. In a single drop of seawater, there can be thousands, sometimes millions of living beings. Tiny plankton, algae, bacteria, viruses, larvae, shapes so small they escape notice entirely. Some are translucent, some glow, some look like delicate glass sculptures drifting in slow motion. Together, these microscopic lives form the foundation of marine ecosystems. They feed everything from coral to whales. They help produce oxygen, cycle carbon, and regulate the planet's climate. We rarely see them, but they are always there, moving with tides, multiplying in sunlight, waiting in darkness. And here on Nighttime Science, these thoughts are not meant to sharpen the mind, but to soften it. Let the ocean drift. Let the light dim. Let the world breathe quietly around you. As night deepens, rest within the vast, invisible life that surrounds you, patient, glowing, and endlessly continuing. A drop of water, a world. The ocean, it turns out, is made of galaxies. In places that seem utterly unlivable, life still finds a way. In boiling, acidic pools near volcanic springs, like those in Yellowstone or the Danakil Depression of Ethiopia, temperatures soar and chemicals hiss at the surface. To most life, these environments are lethal, but not to everyone. Here live extremophiles, microbes that thrive where others would die. Some endure temperatures above boiling. Others survive in acidity comparable to battery acid. They don't rely on sunlight. Instead, they draw energy from chemistry itself, using sulfur, iron, and other minerals through a process called chemosynthesis. Their proteins are specially shaped to resist heat. Their cell membranes are built to withstand acid. Everything about them is adapted for survival at the edge. These organisms may resemble some of the earliest life on Earth, and they may hint at the kind of life we could one day find on other worlds. In the most extreme places, life doesn't just endure, it invents. It finds a foothold in fire and quietly reminds us, wherever conditions allow, life will try. When night falls and sunlight fades, plants face a challenge. They must survive the dark. During the day, plants make sugar from sunlight and store it as starch. At night, with photosynthesis paused, they carefully break that starch down to fuel their metabolism until dawn. And here's the astonishing part. They do the math. Plants calculate how much energy they have and divide it by the number of hours left until morning. They adjust the rate at which they consume their reserves so they don't run out too early and don't waste any either. This isn't conscious calculation. There are no numbers, only molecular signals and finely tuned feedback loops. And yet, the accuracy is remarkable. Inside every leaf, a quiet equation unfolds. Even without awareness, life plans. Even in darkness, it prepares for morning. When an owl takes flight, the night barely notices. Its wings move, but the air stays calm. Owls have evolved one of the most silent forms of movement in the animal kingdom. The edges of their primary feathers are soft and fringed, breaking up turbulent air. A velvety surface absorbs sound. Even the spacing of feathers is tuned to reduce noise. This silence allows owls to hunt with extraordinary precision, listening for the faintest rustle of prey beneath leaves or snow. Other birds announce their flight with sound. Owls erase it. They move like shadows given form, ghosts with wings, heard only when they choose to speak. Some creatures don't just heal, they rebuild. Flatworms called planarians possess an almost unbelievable ability. Cut one into pieces, and each fragment can grow into a complete, fully functioning animal. Muscles, organs, nerves, and even a brain. This power comes from special stem cells known as neoblasts. These cells can become any type of tissue the worm needs. They reorganize the body from scratch, restoring form and function. To scientists, planarians offer clues about regeneration, healing, and the limits of biological renewal. To the rest of us, they offer a quieter lesson. Damage is not always final. Loss is not always the end. Sometimes, life begins again, from even the smallest piece. And here on Nighttime Science, these ideas aren't meant to excite the mind. They're meant to ease it. Let the night settle. Let the world soften as sleep draws near. Rest within the quiet certainty that life, in all its forms, finds ways to continue. Scientists study these creatures in hopes of understanding how regeneration truly works, and whether one day it might help us repair damage in our own bodies. In the stillness of freshwater pools, the flatworm drifts, divides, and begins again. Each time it is broken, it returns whole, life refusing to be undone. Pigeons often fade into the background of city life. They flutter past windows. They gather in squares. They peck quietly at crumbs. And yet they are watching. Studies have shown that pigeons can recognize individual human faces. They remember who feeds them and who does not. Even when people change clothes, pigeons can still identify them by facial features alone. Their visual memory is remarkably sharp. It helps them navigate long distances, return home from unfamiliar places, and even distinguish between artistic styles or written words in laboratory experiments. With training, some pigeons can sort objects by category or learn complex sequences, abilities once thought limited to primates. In the noise of the city, they seem ordinary, but they are learning, remembering. The streets are their sky, and you may already be familiar to them, not just of ancestors, but of ancient infections. Roughly 8% of the human genome comes from retroviruses that infected our distant predecessors. These viruses inserted their genetic material into reproductive cells, and over time, their DNA became part of ours. Most of these viral sequences have long fallen silent, but some were repurposed by evolution, taking on vital roles in human biology. They now help regulate brain development, immune responses, and even the formation of the placenta. You are, in a very real sense, part virus, not infected, but shaped. Your body is not a single story. It is a library of survival, stitched together from countless lives and long-forgotten battles, written into the instructions that made you. The largest living organism on Earth doesn't walk, fly, or swim. It waits. Beneath a forest in Oregon lies a vast fungal network, an armillaria fungus spreading across more than 2,000 acres. Underground, its mycelium threads through soil and roots, connecting trees in a slow, silent web. This single organism is estimated to be thousands of years old. Above ground, it appears only occasionally, sending up mushrooms like brief signals from a much larger body hidden below. But the true organism lives in darkness, feeding, expanding, enduring. It doesn't roar. It doesn't move quickly. It doesn't demand attention. And yet, in size, age, and reach, it is unmatched. The world beneath your feet may be more alive than the one you see above. Bees are not just busy. They are learners. In a remarkable experiment, researchers trained bees to roll tiny balls into a target to receive a sugar reward. Other bees, watching from nearby, learned how to complete the task without direct training. Some even improved on the method, finding faster or more efficient ways to succeed. This kind of learning, observing, imitating, adapting, is rare outside of primates and birds. And yet, bees manage it with brains no larger than a grain of rice. Inside the hive, knowledge spreads quietly, not through teaching, not through words, but through example. The buzz of wings carries more than pollen. It carries ideas. And in the water, another quiet adaptation waits. Some fish sleep, but never completely. They rest with only half of their brain at a time, keeping the other half alert enough to watch for danger and maintain balance. One eye closes, the other remains open. Awareness fades, but never disappears. It's a gentle compromise between rest and survival, a reminder that even sleep can be shaped by need. And here on Nighttime Science, these stories don't ask you to stay awake. They invite you to drift. Let the city quiet. Let the water still. Let the thoughts soften. As the night deepens, rest within the many ways life remembers, adapts, and continues. Quietly awake, even in sleep. Sleep is universal, but the way it happens is wonderfully varied. Some fish, like parrotfish and certain species of sharks, don't fully let go when they rest. They enter a state known as unihemispheric sleep. One half of the brain slows and drifts, while the other stays awake, watching, steering, sensing. This allows them to remain aware of predators, currents, and obstacles, even as their bodies recover. Movement continues, slow and steady. Awareness never completely fades. Dolphins and whales use a similar strategy. Sleeping this way lets them surface to breathe and stay afloat. In the ocean, sleep is never total. It is partial, careful, a balance between rest and survival. Even in dreams, the sea keeps one eye open. Chameleons are famous for changing color, but camouflage is only part of the story. Their shifting hues reflect mood, temperature, and social signals. When relaxed, they may appear green or brown. When threatened, excited, or courting, their colors can flare into vivid yellows, blues, and reds. This isn't pigment changing like paint. It's physics. Tiny crystals in their skin rearrange themselves, altering how light is reflected. Structural color, not dye. A warning, an invitation, a sign of submission. The forest becomes a stage, and the chameleon's skin becomes a message. Not just hiding, but expression. All around the planet, invisible lines of force stretch from pole to pole. Earth's magnetic field, and many creatures can feel it. Sea turtles follow magnetic signatures to return to the beaches where they were born. Birds like robins and warblers cross continents using an internal compass. Salmon navigate from the open ocean back to the exact streams where their lives began. Even some insects and bacteria orient themselves using this unseen guide. How they do it isn't fully understood. It may involve tiny crystals of magnetite in the body or light-sensitive proteins in the eyes. But the result is clear. The earth whispers directions, and life listens. Life has never stopped, not after disasters. not after extinctions, not after impossible odds. It emerged from boiling vents in the ocean. It spread across continents. It learned to fly, to dive deep, to burrow underground, to climb toward the sun. It adapted to cold, heat, acid, pressure, vacuum, and time. Each time it was cornered, it found a new form, a new strategy, a new way forward. It grew feathers and fur, shells and armor, roots and wings. It built coral reefs and forests, nests and cities. It learned to think, to cooperate, to remember. Even now, in the deepest caves, the saltiest lakes, and the hottest springs, life is beginning again. Not perfect, not always gentle, but endlessly determined. And you, and me, in every leaf, every breath, every cell. The experiment continues, and the story is still being written. And now, with the final thought softly settled into place, let the world grow quiet around you. We've wandered through oceans and forests, deserts and tundra, mountain peaks and ancient roots. We've listened to the silent conversations of plants, the glow of jellyfish, the distant songs of whales. And through it all, one truth has echoed gently beneath the surface. Life is extraordinary, not because it is flawless, but because it persists. It adapts, it endures, and it never stops surprising us. Somewhere right now, beneath a dark and patient sea, a coral is releasing its eggs into the water, and life once again begins. A bird is flying while it sleeps. A flower is quietly counting the footsteps of a bee. And you are part of this story too, not separate from nature, but made of it, of cells and sparks, of memory and motion, a living thread woven into the long, unfolding pattern of Earth. Everything you've heard tonight, the drifting oceans, the whispering forests, the patient stones and glowing waters, it all includes you. Your breath follows the same rhythms. Your body obeys the same laws. Your awareness is another expression of the same life, briefly looking back at itself. So wherever you are, let yourself rest. Let your breath slow. Let the noise soften. Let your thoughts blur gently at the edges. The journey doesn't end here. It simply pauses, waiting quietly until curiosity calls again. Sleep well, and thank you for dreaming with us. A bird is flying while it sleeps. A flower is quietly counting the footsteps of a bee. And you are part of this story too, not separate from nature, but made of it, of cells and sparks, of memory and motion, a living thread woven into the long, unfolding pattern of Earth. Everything you've heard tonight, the drifting oceans, the whispering forests, the patient stones and glowing waters, it all includes you. Your breath follows the same rhythms. Your body obeys the same laws. Your awareness is another expression of the same life, briefly looking back at itself. So wherever you are, let yourself rest. Let your breath slow. Let the noise soften. Let your thoughts blur gently at the edges. The journey doesn't end here. It simply pauses, waiting quietly until curiosity calls again. Sleep well, and thank you for dreaming with us.